All right. 6-2.
What can I help you with?
Hi. So I am calling. I mean, not calling. I am coming in because a police officer just got off the phone with me, and he's at the end of the phone call. He said, "I love you. I love you too." I said the words "GF, go fuck yourself," and he responded with, "I love you. I love you too." And I think it was sexual. That's sexual harassment. I think that's highly inappropriate comments to come from a police officer.
Do you know the officer's name?
No, he told me. I think he's someone who investigates complaints.
Oh, PSNIA.
And this is the phone number that he called from.
Okay, what is that number?
608-520-6280.
And what is your name?
My name is John Lattimore.
Okay, let me go back and find out what I can find out.
Okay, cool. So what happened was I was on the phone with a police officer, and he called me apparently about a complaint that he had, a complaint that I wrote about a police officer, and he told me basically that nothing I said had value, nothing I reported on the complaint had any gravity, had any significance to him. So basically, he protected the police officer from the complaint. He basically told me that one of my freedoms was to use my freedom of speech is a poor choice. And he said it could lead to confrontation, or it could cause confrontations. And I told him, talking to a police officer should never result in a conflict. If you're using free speech, it should never evolve into a conflict. If that's true, then you have a bad cop. And I think he's referring to bad police officers who take freedom of speech and take freedom of speech as like a citizen, not as a police officer. So if you say the words GFY to a police officer, the ones he was referring to, the ones who think, the people he believed would lead to a confrontation, he thinks the conversation, he thinks if you say that to them, it will lead to a confrontation. Those police officers are bad police officers. So that's what he was talking about. It was basically a threat that if you keep using free speech, if you keep using freedom of speech around police officers, you're going to have consequences. That's what he said. Your freedom of speech is going to lead to a consequence because your freedom of speech is a poor choice. It's not a poor choice. If it was a poor choice, it would be illegal. People would make certain things you say illegal if it were a poor choice. And someone's using my ears saying that there are things you can say to cause fights or cause violence. But you're talking to a cop. And these people are supposed to be strong, the strongest in our community. That's why they're police officers. So you should never be afraid to speak freely to a police officer under the laws of our nation. But the person I spoke to told me that's not necessary. Your words can be poor choices. Your freedom of speech, the certain words you use can be a poor choice that leads to a confrontation, that leads to consequences. That is the opposite of what is reality. That is the opposite of what's supposed to be true. So the person called me to give me bad advice. He gave me bad advice, and then he told me everything I said before was a lie or had no standards, no support. Nothing in my complaint had value. And then he tried to get a video I posted on the internet to a video of my interaction with the officer in the complaint so that he could find something I said or did that was illegal. So instead of trying to help the person who complained, he tried to deny the complaint and then find something criminal. He denied the complaint and then tried to find something criminal that I did in response to that. So he said I was impeding traffic. He's going to look to see if I follow the directive. And then he's going to look to see if I follow the directive to keep moving forward, keep driving. I did. And then he's going to look to see if I said anything, and made any threats, made any gestures, said anything illegal, or did anything illegal in that video. So he told me he was investigating the complaint, but he was investigating me. and if I said anything inappropriate. So at the end of the phone call, the officer, I told the officer to go fuck yourself. I told him 3 times to go fuck yourself. Stop protecting gay police officers. Because that's exactly what he's doing. He's protecting police officers who are gay and are using Madison Police Department resources to harass and intimidate people in the community. Me in the community. And to stalk me using intelligence that is hard to explain. How these officers are able to do this without having intelligence to do it. They use an implant. So the officer is protecting the implant by denying everything I said. The intelligence, protecting the intelligence to harass somebody by, and the way I described, by denying everything I said.
Detective, or Lieutenant Vosberg will be right out to speak with you.
Is that the person that was on the phone?
No, he's the head of the PSNIA department.
Okay,
So,
and then to write a okay, I just need the name so I can write the complaint.
yeah,
okay,
he will
cool.
help you with that.
Okay, cool. So I came to write a complaint. There's absolutely under no circumstances should a police officer say to you, I love you too, on the phone. That is sexually, or not sexually, what is that? That inappropriate. It's inappropriate. It is inappropriate for an officer to tell somebody who wrote a complaint, I love you too, at the end of and then hang up the phone. That's a gay person. This officer is gay. And he is thinking that beneath everything I say, beneath every way I act, every word, well, beneath every situation I'm talking about, there is a connection between us. Like there's something going on between him and me that makes it okay for him to say or sensible to say the words, I love you too. There is nothing beneath everything I've complained about to justify what he said.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing doing almost all right.
Oh, are you Mr. Lattimore?
Yes. Do you know who called me at that number?
I don't.
Well, so the guy called me and told me that he was a detective and that he for the Madison Police Department, and he wanted to talk to me about a complaint I filed.
Right. That was Detective Sergeant Ken Mosley to talk to you on the phone.
Detective Sergeant Ken Mosley, thank you. Is that either one of you?
No, I'm
Okay.
Lieutenant Eric Vosberg. This is Sergeant Gibson.
Okay.
So what can I help you with?
Hi. At the end of that phone call, the officer said something very inappropriate. Something that nobody should ever say to somebody, especially someone who made a complaint. And I think it's an inappropriate comment coming from a police officer as well. So he told me, I love you too, at the end of the phone call. And I think he believed that beneath everything I complained about, beneath the 25 minutes of the complaints I explained to him, that there was something going on between us that made it okay to make a personal remark that referenced that was out of place, completely out of place. Mentioning the word love or I love you too to somebody is highly inappropriate, especially in a professional uniform. No officer should approach any citizen and tell them I love you too in person, especially while they're working. And no officer should walk on the phone in their professional occupation, tell the person they're talking to, I love you too. That is highly inappropriate. It is a distraction, and it leads to a place where this person wouldn't want to be mentally with the person they were talking to. So the officer, instead of doing his job, he distracted from everything I complained about, and then instead of investigating the complaint, he tried to investigate the complainant. And I think that's what he was leading to. So instead of doing his duty, he decided to protect the people on his side of the field, instead of protecting the citizens and their efforts to eliminate a form of harassment that someone is using a very high intelligence to continue to do to somebody in the community. So it's like people are too dumb to understand how this person is being harassed. So if they're too dumb to understand how this person is being harassed, no one can do an investigation because it requires a level of intelligence that no one is willing to investigate. So if it's really difficult to do, well, if you do it very well, no one knows what you did. It basically is the attitude that I think several police officers are in the Madison area are harassing me. So if no one knows how these cops keep showing up to these places, if no one knows why these police officers keep arriving to intersections, if no one knows that for the last 6 years this man has been saying the same thing for thousands of times, if no one knows these things, then any complaint today or tomorrow has no value, because the history is where all the value is. The history of his experience, or the history of the interactions, or the history of the location, or the history of his freedom of speech, that has value. And if no one addresses it or acknowledges it for 5 or 6 years, today or tomorrow, they really have no clue what's going on.
Okay.
So I think, so he distracted from all of that. And my point, I would like to complain about that officer who told me, I love you too, and took the conversation in a distract from purpose from a very purposeful, something that had purpose to something that had an inappropriate, it added an inappropriateness to the conversation.
Okay.
And I would like to complain about that officer.
All right. What I'd like to do is just let you know that he did take your complaint seriously, because I know he talked to you for quite some time.
About 35 minutes?
Yeah. And, he's telling me that you called him several vulgarities during the conversation, and that's why at the end of the conversation, in jest, he said, I love you and I hope you have a good day.
And he's a professional, and it's highly inappropriate. And vulgarity, saying the F word, is not illegal. Why do you guys keep thinking that? Why do police departments
Well, the
keep
context in which you're saying he used the word love does not constitute sexual harassment in my mind.
Or harassment? What about harassment? So he was jesting. Jesting is harassment.
And he doesn't agree with several of your points, which he respectfully disagreed with you, and I don't either. But that's kind of where we just end things. It's like, okay, we respectfully disagree with one another.
Okay, that's inappropriate, sir. That is highly inappropriate.
Well, I respectfully disagree with you.
All right, so you, as a police officer, you can walk up to a citizen and say, I love you too, while you're working.
There has to be context behind it.
No, there's no context. It's inappropriate.
And it's called in jest. There's a context. There's a whole history.
You think you should be jesting with people when you're at work?
Sometimes it's tough to listen to someone.
You're a cop. You're supposed to have gravity. You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to be the strongest in the community.
So he said in jest, I love you and I hope you have a good day.
You're a professional.
And that's not sexual harassment.
It is harassment. It is. It is a form of harassment.
We respectfully disagree.
You're protecting.
Anything else I can help you with?
What would the public say if they knew?
I think
in your
that
opinion,
they would take a look at the context of the situation.
No, sir. They would not take a look at that.
Is there anything else I can help you with? Otherwise,
so as long as nobody knows, it's okay.
Okay.
So if no one knows what he said, or no one has an.
As long as no one knows, I believe you're recording us, right?
Yeah, I'm going to tell people, but no one besides me, no one will ever know. Right? I mean, there's only like two people.
No one's going to know the full breadth of your conversation because it's confidential unless they request something.
No. That's not. I want the public to know. I think that was wrong. I think we see this on the news all the time. Police officers doing the wrong thing, or saying the wrong thing, and then people are offended by it. And I think that'll, like, if the public was offended, if in general the general public was offended by a police officer using like a personal jest or jesting with someone who made a complaint, I think they would take that. They would think it's inappropriate.
Just saying that your offense taken by that is not to the level of a policy violation.
I believe you. I think you guys require more inappropriateness to, but that because you protect your own. But I think the public takes offense fast. Well, more.
We don't protect our own. We find sustained violations of our officers. So we don't protect our own. We investigate our own.
All right. And your final statement is that saying I love you too was okay to say to somebody.
It depends on the context. It does not rise to the level of a policy violation in this instance.
Okay. And the context is if an officer is sworn at, or he feels offended, or his feelings are hurt, he can tell that person, I love you too.
My impression is that in the lightheartedness of him listening to several vulgarities that you said toward him, for him simply listening to you, his response was to tell you in jest, I love you and I hope you have a good day.
No, he said, I love you too. And I think that's incredibly inappropriate.
Okay. All right. Anything else I can help you with?
All right, one more time, the guy's name?
Detective Sergeant Mosley. Mosley.
Sergeant
If you'd like,
Mosley.
I can write all of our names on there for you.
No, it's okay. I'm having trouble writing and holding the phone at the same
see.
time. Detective Sergeant Mosley in the implant is shaking my hands. Detective Sergeant Mosley is the person I spoke to.
Yes.
It said, I love you too at the end of the conversation.
I don't know exactly the words you use.
I had a dash cam recording the whole time. That's why I waited to get to my car.
If you play it back, then you'll know what he said.
It does say that. I will. He did. I swear to you. He said, I love you too. And that's why I came in.
Okay.
I'll post it. I think somebody doesn't want me to post it, but I'll post it to the internet,
Right.
and I'll post this video as well so that people know how you guys feel about an officer who says, I love you too, to somebody on the phone for any reason. I think that's highly inappropriate. And I think the public should know as well, even if it's only two people, me and one random person who watches the video. I think the public got to know that.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yep. So, Detective Sergeant Mosley is the guy's name. He's not supposed to say, I love you too, to anybody. And the public got to know, these are actual cops. It's not fake cops. They're not pretend cops. These are real cops. And he just explained to me, using some ridiculous argument, that saying the words, I love you too, is appropriate for certain officers to say under certain circumstances. So if they feel offended, if they are facing vulgarities, it is appropriate for them to break through their professional standards, and turn into different people. That's not okay. You can't turn into anything except a police officer. You can't change who you are because of what you're confronting. You have a training. You have police procedures you stick to. Otherwise, you get sued. The city gets sued, or somebody files a complaint against your professionalism. So you're not supposed to change who you are because somebody hurt your feelings. You're a cop. Whether your feelings are hurt or you're in a good mood or a bad mood, you're still a police officer. You don't get to say the words, I love you too. And then the detective tried to call me a liar. Basically said that what I told him was not true. That he said, I love you too? That didn't happen. That couldn't have happened. Of course it happened. I guess it would take me like 3 hours to prove it, but because the dash cam is hard to pull out, and it takes forever to pull the dash cam out and post a video clip of the officer saying the words I love you too. So I guess he was trying to encourage me or call me a liar and encourage me to post the video by going, what? He didn't say that. What? So it's like you're encouraging somebody to prove they're not lying and post the video. That's what this stupid the detectives think they're smart. They think they can harass people and get away with it by using psychology, like a psychological genius. But they're not psychological geniuses. They're just harassers. Like, if they did what they're doing to me to somebody who worked in who works in these buildings, those people would immediately know that this person is harassing them, right? And that the psychological harassment they're doing to me to get responses of violence or to have to get particular responses wouldn't work on them, but they're trying it on me because they don't think I'm that smart, or because there's an implant in my body they think will encourage me to make a bad decision. So if you use an implant, you could trigger a mental response like aggression or anger, or make someone very difficult for someone to speak. So that officer thought that with the implant and his subtle psychological harassment, I would have a reaction that was violent. But he's stupid. I know what the officer said. I'm just going to tell. And this shit doesn't work on smart people. But with an implant, it could work. It could work because the implant is making your feelings out of control, out of touch, putting your feelings out of touch with your thoughts. So you can trigger certain feelings inside the human body with an implant. And when someone says something, instead of using your intelligence, you can't, because your feelings aren't in line with your thoughts. Like, you know you're smart enough to say something back, but someone is making you angry. So normally you would just be calm and intelligent. But now someone is making you angry while you're trying to use your intelligence. So it's a mismatch. And they hope that instead of using your intelligence with the feeling of anger that they just use an implant to do, that you'll choose to do something violent, right? So that's a bad cop. That's a bad detective. It's highly inappropriate, and they just protected their own because nobody knows, right? Nobody knows what happened to you. Nobody knows what was said. And we don't think it's bad enough. We decided that saying the words, I love you too, it's not that bad for anybody. It's not bad enough to make a complaint, for anybody to complain. So if somebody says, go fuck yourself to a police officer, they don't have a right or professional position. They're not in a professional position to jest in response to the words that was said. Or somebody's going to complain. Somebody's going to complain, and maybe the public optics, the gay community harassers will support his jesting, but in the reality of his professional position, he's not supposed to be jesting with people who complained and after he denied their claim. So the officer denied everything I said, and then he decided to jest. So he pretty much kicked the entirety of the complaint to the side. So a very smart person would know that the officer chose to insult you and then jest about the insult. To deny your claim. And when people get their claims denied, they're not in a good mood. So when you jest with them at the end of that, you're like making fun of somebody, making fun of that person too. So you denied their claim, and then you laughed at them, or you insulted them too. You took this person to a mental space they wouldn't want to be, where they wouldn't want to talk to you. So if you tell somebody I love you, that you take them to a space in their minds where they wouldn't want to be with that officer. So he thinks he's smart, very intelligent. Like, he can use psychological harassment or mental control of someone's mind with words. So like, if someone wanted to say to you suddenly out of the blue, the sky is green, your mind suddenly goes from whatever serious point you wanted to make. So that shit just turned red. And right as it turned red, this person showed up. It just turned red 2 seconds ago. What time is it? It's 23 minutes. So this film is at 23 minutes. I have 25 minutes. So right now it's 23 minutes and 10 seconds. And that person just showed up. So right on time. It's harassment. It's community harassment. Somebody knew exactly when you parked, and exactly when you parked, that person was going to show up. Isn't that funny? It's community harassment. That shit just turned red. But anyways, so my point is, the detective is gay, and he wants me to think that it's appropriate. The context makes it appropriate. Well, he's not looking at the totality of the context. He's not looking at the public opinion where this officer just denied the quality, the entirety of someone's complaint, and then told them, I love you too. Completely unprofessional, completely the wrong thing to say. So in that moment, the person who made a complaint is entirely upset, and you should not be taking a personal stance towards their feelings. You should know that they're going to be upset. That's a professional police officer who does investigations about people who have made complaints about police officers. So they're going to be upset when they get denied, when their voices aren't heard. So you shouldn't be joking in that moment. They're emotionally upset because their voice isn't heard. So under no context should police officers be telling people joking with that person who's very, whether they're logical or not, maybe they're hurt. Their feelings are truly hurt. So that officer should have that perspective to not joke with people, which is why it's in the professional standards to not joke with people. It's not a jest. And taking someone to an emotional place, well, not an emotional place, but like a place where, what do you call that place? Where love in your brain resides. A personal relationship, an intimate place, a place of intimacy is not somewhere officers should be taking people. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Look at this worthless ass shit. So right when I was leaving, a police officer showed at the intersection. And then this gay ass bitch just nodded her head when I just said that fat, nasty, greasy bitch. Oh, fuck yourselves. So the point is, you're not supposed to harass people. You're not supposed to harass people. You're not supposed to be that person. You're not supposed to be a police officer who harasses people. It's harassment. The jest is harassment. And the officer just told me it's harassment. So it may not be his standard of harassment, but in society, that's called harassment. Society calls that harassment. So not only was I complaining about harassment, the police officer decided to harass me while I was complaining. And then because nobody knows what I said, and then this stupid ass shit, people keep walking in front of my car wherever I go, not just here, but all these intersections. Like, let's say you drive home and like at 7 or 8 intersections, on your way home, there's somebody who is walking in through the crosswalk. So you have to stop. Or somebody who is jaywalking. So you have to stop. Right? Imagine if that was happening to you. Imagine that. Imagine if that was occurring to you. So yeah, my point is, and this sighting has been repetitive as well. This sighting has been very repetitive. So I'm just saying, imagine if that's happened to you before, right? Imagine if. Go fuck yourself! Go fuck yourself! Imagine if that happened to you, right? Where there are police officers saying and doing things to you that are inappropriate. Look, again, more harassment. So imagine if you're on your way home and this happens to you at stoplights or green lights. What if this was happening to you at a green light? And these people all the time, more than once, for years, right? So it's not just occasionally, once or twice, but let's say every single day, 5 or 6 times a day, somebody is walking in front of you at the crosswalk. So look who just pulled up behind me. But anyways, my point is, there are several gay community police officers who have been harassing me for days. Weeks, days, all the time. So it's harassment. So telling somebody that, what do you call it? Telling somebody that jesting with someone at a moment where they are trying to tell is inappropriate. It is highly inappropriate. And no police officer in that moment should be jesting with people. And someone just told me, well, we take a laissez-faire. We don't see the gravity. We don't take it seriously. So even if what you say is true, police officers are allowed to harass people under certain circumstances. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think that's okay. That's what they just said in my ears. They're going to look at it like it's not as bad as the officer actually made it. So it is. The context is somebody is trying to complain. Somebody is trying to explain themselves, and they're working very hard to do it. So on that level, when that person is making that 100% effort to tell and you deny everything they said, and then you joke about them and their complaint, it makes it very offensive. It makes telling, it makes you appear to, one, you're actually harassing that person when they complained about harassment. That's reality. And two, it makes them look, think, feel, be belittled. You're belittling their complaint. And right after you denied their complaint, you belittled them. And then you criticized them. You told them they were the problem. But they're not the problem. It's the police officers that are using resources in the community to harass people on behalf of the gay community. So it's not me. Look, this motherfucker didn't even, so I have to stop. And they didn't even flash the lights. So I'm going to stop recording, but that's what keeps happening everywhere I go. Because I'm running out of footage.